was me. That
All
was me.
right, you're good. You're good. Oh, okay.
Adam, open those eyes up. One more with Adam. I want to do one more with this one. All right, I got it. Good.
Thank you. All right, guys. Working on that so bad. You don't even know how bad I'm trying to find my own.
So what's up?
You know you're on the board of directors for Key Tech Labs, right?
Yeah. Well, yes and no, but anyway,
Yes,
good.
yes.
Okay.
Because since I'm the head of the board,
Okay.
I run it like the mob, in for life, in for life.
Okay, all right.
So I don't know. Can you call me? Just text me.
Yeah.
So I'm reminded to call you because I have a lot of stuff to tell you.
Okay.
A lot.
All right.
And since you're one of the elders on the board,
Oh,
that
thank you,
means
sir.
I have to answer to you.
Okay.
Even though I'm the chairman, I still have to answer to you.
Right. Okay. All right.
You know the story? You're a professor.
Retired.
Introduce yourself.
Hi. I'm Paul Jackson.
Paul Jackson,
Nice to
glad
meet you.
to meet you.
Yes,
Professor
yes.
at the UW? Or
No, I used to be a professor back when I was at A&M, Texas A&M, when I got my
okay,
degree.
Texas A&M,
But I've
okay.
been at, that's where I got my degree
My kid
from.
went to A&M.
Oh, yeah? Okay. And then I did undergrad at Prairie View. Prairie View? It's outside of Houston at HBCU.
Did you say you did underwear what?
My undergrad in my Okay. Yeah.
I was starting to envision you in your underwear.
No. Don't do that.
Okay.
No. But double degree for undergrad and computer science and computer engineering Ph.D.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in 1998.
Congratulations.
So, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did. Oh. Okay. All right. Cool.
You still teaching now?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, retired.
With the panel and also with the workshop leaders. So if you join the workshop and you have questions, or you have questions about any of the presentations, we will be up here to answer those questions. So let's go ahead and get started and get you guys ready to feel excited about all the information you have and move forward together. Okay, so what we're going to do is everybody can come back to your your seats. We're gonna go ahead and get started with some of your some more of your questions and some answers. Again, we have a Dasha, and we also have the cooperative, how to start a cooperative workshop that some of you joined or didn't join. Andra is here to answer questions about that. We also have data, understanding the data, and we have Roy for that if you were not able to go to his workshop. We have asked questions about how are we collecting the data. Can you guys hear me? There's a lot. Yes, I can. Okay. I'm loving the conversations, but if you guys have questions and you want to have or make comments about or give us feedback about today and what you learned, that's great too. So we have all the workshop leaders here. If you weren't able to join the workshops and you wanted to ask specific questions about it, we can do that now. So we have a mic waiting, so if anybody has a question or for a particular workshop, anyone questions? Or is there more conversations we need to have? All right. So if no one has any questions, I think I'll start with Roy since he's here, just to give a short, brief understanding of the workshop that he did for the ones who weren't able to join it. Okay, so Roy, go ahead.
Hey folks, thank you for coming out, and really look forward to working with you during the year. If you're interested in that, don't hesitate to step forward and make yourself known. You should be also receiving various communications from us unless you decide not to do an unsubscribe, but we want to get work done. It's been described about what our needs are. We've talked about the gaps and things. The only thing that's really left is us working together. And so that's the job and the task at hand is to begin more effectively to work together. The farms and the data workshop, I'll just do briefly and let Andy stretch out because he really covered the topic well. It was light on the data side, but we had a very responsive group. They were asking questions in different areas. We talked about marketing, we talked about sales. In fact, we have a new sales outlet that's developing now in the Pike Place market with Jacob's Agro. So keep in mind, if you're a small farmer and you need some additional sales outlet, we have one that's in place. You've also heard about distribution, the co-ops and other areas. So just let this be encouraging and powerful enough to move you to something. If you are in the beginning stages or just curious, no problem. We'll talk about it with you. We'll work it through with you. You start your little home garden if you want to, or give you the information and resources to go find a community plot, or to work with an existing farmer so you can walk away with food every week, because usually that's what we do is share. Unless we can pay too. But if we can't pay, you're going to still come out with something. So building the community is an important piece, and seeing your role and yourself as part of it is also the other important piece, and that was well expressed with the last map. So that's pretty much it.
Does anyone have any questions for Roy? Okay, we're going to go ahead to Eddie to kind of describe his workshop. Go ahead.
Thank you. Eddie Hill again, Food Loop Northwest, like Fruit Loop, like food. And as a graduate of this university in 2005, much respects, it's nice to come home. Again, always nice to bring the loop back and keep it, So I got dragged into this place and I thought I was in trouble, but I ended up not being in trouble. And I got learned school. So our workshop in honor of Dr. Mims and this fine institution, our workshop was looking at the reality of what's happening now in terms of developing markets. So regardless of the political and what's happening upstream or downstream or in between, the focus was on first getting orientated on what the food system is, like sort of kind of getting everybody in the same language. Like, it's not just the farm, it's picking up the food, it's washing it, it's turning it into something, whether it's like baby carrots in a bag, or you got poultry, or you got grandma's tomato sauce that you think is the best thing ever, right? Or it's just raw vegetables. So we talked about the different ways of being in food and creating economy, and the way that farmers, I won't say now have to think because of the changes in the Fed, I will say the way farmers have forgotten to think because we lost touch with our traditions, and we also thought that new technology meant that we could throw old things away. And we all FAFO on that one, right? So we all now know that you cannot remove the past or not deal with your pain and process it and heal, and at the same time talk about liberating yourself and building a sustainable cooperative food economy for the community. So we can do both at the same time, and external pressures are having us come to these conversations faster. So I love that. The focus of the group was identifying what our resources are right now, not what's been missing or what we're thinking about. But right now we have, and we heard it today, we heard it in the group, we have a person who has finished their paperwork and is in Pikes Place Market that is looking for local farmers of color, other brothers and sisters, to put their product on his shelf. And he's sharing, cooperating, and sharing that shelf. So then the other 2 or 3 farmers in the room were like, okay, cool, that's good, I'm gonna connect with you. And then there's a brother in the room who packages food, so he knows about co-packing and about putting dry goods and teas or something into a bottle and a beverage, so he knows how to do that. So that's your food processing person, right? And then there's 2 or 3 farmers in the room, and then there's somebody who has a distribution truck, and there's another person who installs solar panels. So when we talk about looking for community infrastructure, needing to, build it in the community, the outcomes of the conversation, the meeting were, oh, we already built it. There's people already doing it. We have to take some time to pull ourselves out of thinking that we're a deficit and that we have benefits already. And then identifying and trusting that the person who has that asset, you don't have to trust, you just have to ask, hey, can we work together? Hey, can you sign this agreement that says if you sell my vegetables that you'll give me 30%, or you take 30 and I get 70? Can we just put that down on a napkin and sign it and honor ourselves with that? And then the other person says yes, and then you do it. So we have the opportunity right now in this moment, and we did it, is to create a verbal contract with the infrastructure we have. And then Dr. Marsha said, hey, y'all can do all that research right here in this university. So now we have a historically black college in the Pacific Northwest that will house our agriculture research that Brother Roy is gonna do, and house Mr. Jackson's videos about all the stuff we do. And we're gonna create a database that we control, that's not open or can be removed by Doge. And we're going to build economy where we trust each other and shake hands and say, like, I honor you and see the God in you. And I think that was the end of the workshop, and we had to come downstairs to eat lunch.
Wonderful workshop. Does anyone have any questions for Eddie? Yes.
I'm trying to say this the best way I can without hurting anybody's feelings. Right now, we're in a siege, period. I run a company, a paramilitary company, and I work in human trafficking. And I spend a lot of time traveling. And this campus itself is in a siege, unless people don't know. So this is actually Sabbath today, right? So we in church. Everybody think they're gonna be in church tomorrow. Actually, we're in church right now. We're in the masjid right now. And this entire panel has been preaching to the choir. Because I know for a fact, I know Sister Adasha, I know the work that she has done. I'm one of the directors at Life in Richmond Bookstore. And she pulled up in front of Life in Richmond Bookstore one time with a tractor trailer filled with produce, boxed. She put everything in there like a military compound. At that moment in time, I happen to know that she was being made a lot of offers from the government, from all these people. People were throwing all kind of stuff at her, and she stayed true to this community. What I saw in this community was, and I don't understand this, I saw a disconnect with her, a disconnect with people, because the sister was rolling and not looking for anything other than to help people. And then I started watching people tax her. I'm not gonna call them names, but there's a district in this town where the sister came and loaded them up with food. They actually taxed her for being there, and she stayed and helped them. So this campus is an extension of Olympia. And on the governor's desk, there's a piece of paper that was signed in which they're gonna close Olympia's main campus. If they close Olympia's main campus, they will close this campus.
Yeah, gonna try.
And all this will be just a bunch of talk. So what I'm saying to everybody is this is a war room right now. We're not just here for this weekend. We should be here every weekend. And you know, I don't want to speak Sister Adasha's business, but she's about to take a journey. In the time period that she's gone, when she comes back, y'all should be ready. Because this sister is so far ahead of this conversation we had all day today. This is like kindergarten. Yep. This was a kindergarten class for everybody. Because when it comes down to business, y'all are getting a Ph.D. to catch up with her. So everybody in this room knows, I mean, you wouldn't be here if you weren't already awoke. So since you're already awoke, you gotta go back in your community. You gotta get other people and bring them in here. Our children should be streaming in here. Adasha had this land, she had everything set up for this community. And then it was like everybody was walking around like, where do we go? What do we do? You know, there were 1,000 meetings eating chicken. You know, I'm really tired of eating chicken. It's actually, I'm not saying nothing bad about the meal back here.
Better not.
She makes a lot of money on us. We have these meetings and chicken and this and that. Not even halal, just chicken, you know, so where I come from, I'm from the Tree of Life on 25th Street. Everybody met there. Nation of Islam, 5 Senators, Rosicrucians, we all met in this little hall, the Masjid. Everybody's in Brooklyn right now. And what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna try to get this happening streamed worldwide. Because what that panel up there, when they spoke, it's not just us who need to be here what they said. The whole world needs to hear this because we are under siege, for real. No matter what color you are, this madman that's in this office, and I know from overseas what they're doing. So, I don't know. I mean, in our community, there seems to be an issue. There's one more thing I have to say. I'm saying this to the brothers. I'm directly talking to the men in this house. You sisters, close your ears. Y'all need to get your stuff together, okay? The men in this house need to get this stuff together because you seem to have a problem with women leading. There seems to be a real problem with that. And I mean, if I'm not talking to you, then go home and talk to your son or your brother or whoever men around that are acting like this and take that movie out, Woman King, and play it. Play it for your sons, play it for your nephews, because in our culture, the women aren't in charge. You know, it's not until we came over here, this macho, whatever. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so if no other questions, we're gonna go ahead to Andra. And she talked about developing a cooperative, and she has so much wealth of information.
Hi, this has just been an incredible day, and I just want to say thank you again for inviting me to be in this space with you and to find my people that I've been looking for. Because a lot of folks will speak about change, but they're not always ready to do it. And I feel like I got to speak with so many people that are just leaping forward. And I'm a community lawyer. I used to call myself the community advocate because I just end up in the most precarious situations with people. And you know, I'm your cheerleader. I'm your confidant. And I'm a doer, and I'm going to help you figure out a way to resolve the problem with the least amount of harm. So, I became a lawyer, and your story really matters to me. Your solutions really matter to me, and I really get frustrated that the legal community isn't listening to the people that are coming to it and providing contract equity, and they're not really making sure that our laws are anything meaningful, which is why we're in the situation we're in, right? We had 100 years of talking about we should have workplace safety, we should have more than maybe a minimum wage, but at least a minimum wage, that we should be able to go to work free of a hostile work environment. But simply those things are just not true. And so as an attorney, as an advocate, I sit back and I think, I'm really blessed because I can see your map, right? And I can hear the stories of the folks that are navigating on that map. And I think our solutions are within us. And there's something about my brain that is always really about trying to problem solve and really, again, mitigating harm. I think the cooperative model for me is something that I'm looking more deeper into and really putting myself out here to support cooperatives, because I think that they do really good work in terms of addressing the societal harms, right? They should be paying wage, right? There's generational wealth building because you should be getting patronage for your sweat equity, and you're an owner and you get to make decisions, and your political voice isn't taken from you. And so we talked about the benefits of a cooperative. We talked about the history of cooperatives. Cooperatives have been the change agents of every community solution since the late 1700s. And for African American farmers in the 60s and the 70s, there was a real gravitation towards cooperatives being the vehicle that folks could see themselves really leaning into and thriving out of. But we still don't have a lot of attorneys focusing on cooperative law. Mostly it's accountants, actually, is where we're getting a lot of our information. And so there's an intersectionality there. And I guess the conversation was really robust. People had really good questions. And we did discuss the other social business forms, which are nonprofits and public benefit or social purpose corporations. And did I say anything? Yes. Okay. But I just want you to know that, we do need to find maybe some resources outside of our space, but majority of the resources are right here within us. And our solutions are these great, big, huge, crazy changes. They're pivots, they're pauses, they're assessments. They're listening to that one voice in the room that's like, yeah, I just really hate that thing. That thing is just really upsetting to me. People are like, I don't know why they always talking about that thing that's so upsetting to them. Just get over it. Well, let's lean into that thing. Let's learn a little bit more about why that thing's so upsetting. What happened? What did that person go through? Did their village get burned? Are they crying that I'm here, I'm present, but I'm crying out because I think we're going down the path? So, give heed to that voice. And if they're just dissenting for no reason, it's time to have a conversation of accountability. And if people think that they're exempt from being, you have to be the leader you want. I think cooperatives give that opportunity, and I definitely, and a true leader recognizes that they have this expertise, and then they build their portfolio, right, with all of the folks. And it's honoring of those folks. And just one last thing, if we're undoing white supremacy culture, if colonization is the thing that is killing us and continues to create genocide, then we need to not lean into white supremacy culture dynamics, which means we should be a team. We should share power. We should understand when you're leading, who is supporting that, who are you delegating to? And then when they're leading, how are you supporting them? Are you receiving their delegation? Because I'm a lawyer in the room, but I'll tell you right now, I'm not really the most beneficial person. I'm gonna use the airlines. I'm the runway, right? You got your cargo, you got your plane, you got your seats, you got your passengers, you got your luggage, you got your engine. Hopefully you have monitors that work so you don't crash another plane. But the lawyer is just, take off, right? Just make sure you know where your runway is, and you know you're being taxied, and you know where you're going. And then when you get to your destination, then maybe there's some additional legal services to navigate you out the pitfalls. But also change agents don't have lawyers. So that's why I'm here today, is to say that I may not be your lawyer, but I hope there was something about what I said that sparks something you said. I need that in my lawyer. So when you do seek out a lawyer, you interview them and you ask them, how are you going to navigate how are you going to give me my runway so that I can get to the destination that I'm trying to go to? Don't give me a runway that's going to take me where I don't want to go. Give me a runway that's going to help me go forward. And I think that cooperatives and us being in our in our formation role, not nonprofit, is going to be one tool that helps us survive this administration. Citizens United is winning the day, and that means corporations have more power than people. And we've always known that. We've always known that. So I think now we need to just get empowered in our corporation status, but not in the way that it leads to genocide and destruction or more horizontal oppression, right? And I think the thing that does that is having contract equity, having clear terms, and recognizing that I'm never gonna be a Dasha. I don't have that same dream or vision, but I do have a dream and vision, and making sure that she can exercise her vision as far as she can see it, and that she has the confidence that the risks she's taken are not going to take her out. Okay? So that's it. Thank you so much.
And I'm just here to say maybe it's time for us to restore the village and incorporate the village.
Yes. Awesome. Does anyone have any questions for Andra?
I know you're a lawyer and you're just helping us take off, I guess, but are you familiar with sociocracy and how, if you're gonna get rid of hierarchical structures, people have to be able to communicate, like in a co-op, in a more equal way. And I mean, I've heard of sociocracy, I'm sure there are other methods, but we didn't really get to talk about that.
I think no one ever gave me that definition because I didn't take anything in psych or sociology past the 100 level, because that wasn't my task. I cared about the subject matter, but those terms of art don't really mean anything to me, but I do. So I'm sorry, I don't know what that is, but I do know that when I step into the room, I'm friendly right now, but I'm like, oh, so what you just said undermines A, B, C, D, E, and F. And if I was going to represent that person that's gonna sue you, these are the things that I would do to attack what you just said. So how about we get in alignment with your goals and your mission and your vision, and then let's figure out how we mitigate the harms once we've identified where you're going and what the foundation needs to be, what the color pattern, what's the texture. And then we can, once you see your vision, then we can have a thoughtful conversation about mitigating risk. Also, hierarchy, white supremacy culture it's my way, right? It's not interdependency, right? Us three together are mighty, and whatever we could do together could end up being perfect. But if I come in and I'm like, well, I'm the lawyer, well, that's not it. And I dominate the conversation, and I undermine their power, and I take their work, then I failed in my mission, right? So I do a lot of work around storytelling, hearing what you're saying, and then through my advocacy, bringing that up, because you tell me in the first conversation where all your red lines are, or where your yellow lines are. It's not till the second or third conversation where I get to really start to hear where your green lines are. And I think I thought a lot about how do you replicate who you are. I don't know that question, but I know that I'm willing to share my advocacy story with anybody who's willing to listen. I'm willing to mentor and have mentored the next generation of attorneys. Spent a lot of time in community. The Lauren Miller Bar Association, I represented them, they're the Black Lawyers Group, and we have a problem if you're Black in the courtroom in the United States. You have a problem if you're Black in the courtroom if you live in Washington State. And you may not get a fair civil or criminal trial. And up until a few years ago, our jurisprudence around a fair trial, not based on your race, was there was only some precedent around criminal law. But I got to represent the Lauren Miller Bar Association, and they got to tell me their stories. Now I promise anonymity, so I never use anyone's name, and I'm the only signer on the brief. But I told their stories in a way that they could start to see each other. The judges could see what the lawyers were going to, and sometimes we're only one in spaces. And so I had to, part of that advocacy, because the brief that I wrote was very, it held nothing back. And Chief Justice Montoya Lewis did cite the brief in her opinion that now gives Black folks at least an evidentiary hearing and a right to shift the burden and make a complaint that they did not receive a fair trial because of explicit racism. And I guess what I'll say is it took a lot of me building one-on-one trust with folks and them having to understand that I see their role, but to me their role was not more or less significant than the other person's role, but that all the stories have to be told. And everybody who's part of the team should be able to see themselves in your plan. So you might not get everything you want. So know what you need and what you don't need. When I went to law school, I needed to know that I was going to get the best contract professor in the world, because the thing that was most important to me when I went to law school was contract equity. I felt my community, me, never really got a fair chance because no one ever reviewed the contract with our best interest in mind. But yet this boilerplate contract was ruling our lives. I'm still grappling with that, because we want the best from somebody. We want the best from our systems. But ultimately, they weren't written for us to thrive. And so I guess to answer your question is, how do we share power, right? And that's a big part of the cooperative conversation, is it's mutual care, it is sharing power, everybody is an owner. You have your board of directors, but those board of directors also have to be members. Your workers your volunteers, they're getting patronage. It's not free labor anymore. If you're cooperative profits, then you will see a reflection of that profit in your bank account when dividends and distributions are let, when patronage refund happens, based on the number of hours and commitment you made. And so there's hope in that, because every single person I know works 2 jobs, if not 3. And when I went way back in the day, I was like, I just want to help people make their side hustle their main hustle, so they don't have to hustle so hard. And speak the crazy, because now I'm sitting in here in a room full of hustlers who are doing everything they can to make it so they can have work equity and they can share their resources. And so, thank you.
One of the panelists, I believe it was you, mentioned one way to control people is controlling the access to knowledge and changing language, right? We see that happening every day under this current administration. Do you have an idea, concept, or strategy to help us keep up with that collectively, where you being a lawyer, there's the legal language, some of us that don't come from that field, we're like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what the guardrails are. But more importantly, when we see those changes, we need to collectively decide whether we move forward and break through, like break the law. So there's a strategy in that. I'm just wondering if you have any ideas that you can share how we meet and decimate that information collectively.
It's the conversation that we're having everywhere, right? I can't, in this moment, see myself not using the word racism. And for me, I've had to have a conversation of what does that look like? Because I say really crazy things, and so there is a conversation of one day I could be arrested. And one day I could be silenced, right? I can't tell people what to do, but I'm in the conversation with you, and I want us to come up with a collective plan. But I need our community to have a one-pager, and we don't deviate from it in public, and we can say whatever we want to say in the blue room outside in public, but we stay on message. And you know, this place, I've heard of Professor Mims, I've heard of her for a long time, but I didn't understand, and when I walked into this space, the stories I had heard about her, all of a sudden, I could feel it, it was real, I felt emotional, I felt so grateful, I was like, I didn't know if I should cry, if I should jump for joy, but I felt like, wow, I didn't know this was in my, I mean, I'm not in Tacoma, but it's still my community, so I didn't know about this resource, right? And the fact that my son got to spend several hours in the men's library was beautiful, right, in the library room. I just think that, you know, you have to put your safety armor on, right? And so I don't think, so if you decided you were gonna change your verbiage to describe characteristics of the black folks' plight, then that might be what you need to do, right? But I provide transactional legal services to change agents, and I'm not gonna stop doing that. And I've stood in prisons and jails, and I've gone to watched how they treat our most vulnerable. You know, once you're convicted of a crime and you're sent to prison, you deserve to be treated with the human dignity that maybe you didn't give your victim. That person didn't give their victim. In jail, you have not been convicted. So you deserve the human dignity and grace that somebody who is innocent until proven guilty receives. Those two things are not happening in our jails or in our prisons. I used to have to be on a collect call line, and when someone would call with a complaint about a jail, I would go and I would investigate and I would learn and I would listen. And Constitution said that the 13th Amendment was supposed to free me from being enslaved. But it also said that if I commit a crime against the land, that I can be relegated to 3/5 a person. So I can't dismantle and abandon racism if I'm free and my brother or sister is not free. I have to speak on their plight, and their plight is racist. And maybe that's too generic, but it just is one point. So what I think we have to keep having this conversation. I think it's a great conversation, and I am very worried about potential raids or what could happen with nonprofits. And I agree with the brother that said, how do we combine spaces? Is there a way for us to go and do some planning and work on these farms and be in that space and touch the soil and build in that way? Because I do think us being in space together more is the key. And I think us taking spaces that have not previously been identified as ours and making it clear that they are ours, like the Woodby Island, that is our space. That is our space, right? They tried to burn it down, but it was not theirs to burn down. That's why it got rebuilt, right? And so I think we just have to just keep reminding ourselves that we belong here. This is not anything our ancestors have endured. we had the longest Reconstruction era of any Black person in this country, so, you know, and we have comrades. And there are folks that are not Black that do stand in true comradeship with us. And we will be leaning on them to step up and to be that same resource that they needed to be in previous generations.
All right, so we have one more workshop that occurred, and that was solar. So we're gonna quickly have Adam share what his workshop was about, and any questions you have about solar energy.
Hi, everybody. We had a great conversation around solar, just presenting around how to bring small solar microgrids and systems, not just for energy production and not just for food, but for other opportunities. And at the end of ours, we did a little tour of the solar grids and systems that we set up outside that you passed through to show you that we set that up in 30 minutes. Both of them, 30 minutes. So if you have land and you're like, I don't know how to activate it, or you want to take your significant other for a romantic thing, you can just set up on your own land, energize it, watch Netflix and chill, or start up the hot tub. And us activating our land for more than just food or electricity, but activating it for the people. So that's what we talked about.
Any questions?
You guys are here, right?
Yes.
Okay. I guess back to the same question with earlier is how do individuals still have these types of access? Whether A, to learn, B, to participate in collectiveness. So I guess that would be my question moving forward. And how do we utilize or be connected to this type of resources that empowers us in our community?
So one of the main things that I'm working on is what I'm calling a Second Life Solar Initiative, where we're getting repurposed and decommissioned solar panels. And I'm making a call out to the industry right now. And the idea is that we get those and now we can bring them to the land, whether that's your farmland that you have, or, I don't know, your backyard, so that you can participate in it at a lower cost, because the capital cost for solar panels is extremely high, especially now with the tariffs. So there are a lot of solar panels that are just sitting in warehouses, solar warehouses, and I've talked to the industry, they call them orphan panels, because they got taken off, they're just sitting in the warehouse. So how we reactivate that is through community. Number one, you gotta say, hey Adam, I have land and I'm interested in solar, and most likely you've already got a quote and they ask for a lot, and this is what this is about, and why I gave that presentation is to say, here's a way for the community to access solar at a lower capital cost. So that is exactly what I'm trying to do, is give the community a way to access solar, not just put it on your roof or a megawatt on a farm, which is typically how they want you to play the game. And there is a Juneteenth event at Whidbey Island, and you will be able to see all the wonderful solar and things that have already come down, and we'll pop up those microgrids, and that's what I know the CE Cooperative, we're supporting events, and that's what we're doing as an initiative, is trying to make it educate, give you access, let you see it, let you touch it, and helping to administrate these events so that you guys not only have an opportunity to see it, but participate, and then hopefully you buy it and install it, because now we're creating a circular network of resilience. Yes, actually, that is the model working on, and that's part of what we were trying to do here.
Repeat the question, please.
I was asking, does he rent his units to set up for events?
Yeah, that's kind of the main function right now. We do events in the park. We can activate a parking lot, we can activate a park, and that's what we're trying to show. So we are working on a model right now where you can, if you have an event, you can rent, and instead of using gas, diesel, which we found out one of the biggest benefits for events is no noise. So it's just, you have a movie and you're not trying to compete with that, and then there's no pollution kicking back in everybody's face, and then we leave no trace. We're down, just like we did today, we're gonna pick it up, and yeah, same day. Yep.
Any other questions for Adam? Yes.
So, I have all these small businesses who are really struggling. How would I connect them to you so they could maybe put some solar panel on their building and maybe do something that could help like generate a lower utility bill so they could do something more exciting? Especially restaurants. Right?
Yeah. I'm thinking all the, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Black women-owned, African women, and African immigrant women who have restaurants that would really benefit from that.
So I'm actually a community solar developer. I went through the Department of Energy's course to become a community solar developer, and then what that means is that we put solar like on this roof, so that the energy not only supports the entity, the school, but also kicks back to other members within the community to lower their electricity bill. So they were very much pushing this. Inflation Reduction Act and all of that is now up in the air, but the mission stays the same. And we already have a model. In fact, I'm on the board of Olympia Community Solar, which is a community solar organization here. We put community solar on farmers markets, on multi-family buildings. So there is a pathway and there is funding statewide for that. It's a process.
I was gonna say, Black Seed was also part of the renewable energy, and the Department of Energy for a microgrid, to where we're not metering back to the grid, we're actually becoming an exchange to through a membership, cooperative membership, where folks around the community can charge their vehicles. All of our mobile farmers market and 2 of our vans are electrical, so we can charge that way. So we'll open up Black Seed once we get the cardboards for charging stations, and it'll be a membership that way. So when we talk about having micro communities and micro hubs, this is what we're talking about. The whole thing is self-sustaining for members in the community.
Yep. That's so cool.
And we have our own water. We need water and energy, so that's why we need to do a little bit better, because it's only a matter of time before we are targets.
They're not gonna touch you.
So one of the things that I do want to do, because we have a couple more minutes for additional questions for any of the workshop members and also Adasha. We wanted to also let you all know that, we are trying to work on diligently and making sure all of this information is provided to all of you, right? Because Adasha, Black Seed, they have a lot of events that are happening that we really would love for you guys to come to support. And then also for the solar, and again, you came to this, and then we're gonna have additional things than just, periodic yearly things. We're trying to plan that as a whole sheet, as a group, as a cooperative. And so we're working together, as they were talking about at the panel earlier, without, I'm looking, to take money from you or to do this. We're looking to work and partner together to enhance our community, right? So we will try our best. We're gonna be working on creating a model where we can communicate more of this to the community, right? Through the school, through AI, through a whole bunch of things.
There's some other, I was gonna say, we do have a 400 tree planting event March 15th on Black Seed Farms in partnership with the Conservation District and some locals there to build a bio buffer, a riparian buffer around the wetland. And so it's a chance for you all to get involved. We also offer training classes to help support butchers in slaughtering halal meat. There have been a couple classes that have gone years prior. We're going to try to do it again this year. And then also, again, there's a lot of just upskilling certification through emergency preparedness, food sanitation and practices coming up as well. So we're just trying to get, again, more community in these seats to where it actually benefits the community. It's just going out or being absorbed through institutions, which are fine, but now we're seeing these institutions may not be there, so we need to upskill ourselves. So that's kind of, we have Black Seed is the farm and the business, Modest Family Solutions is the nonprofit social enterprise, and so we do all the education through that. So you may see Black Seed and Modest Family Solutions, being interchanged, and I just wanted to explain that here. But yes, we'll have a full schedule. We're just going to be working with the cooperatives and just how people can get involved. And it's not a bad thing to be involved in more or one. It's not a pick one and throw a couple cookies type of thing. There's a lot of things that I've learned just in Islamic financing and economics that is really helping preserve our practices, because we don't take interest or loans, and so we've been able to sustain ourselves during these hard times. So we have a lot of assets that we actually own for a community, and so just getting those things out there. But when it comes to insurance, to answer your question about socialism, they didn't want to insure us because they thought we were a commune. So looking up the legalese behind that, you could actually insure a commune, right? So if I would have had this sister here, I wouldn't have to do as much research as I did. But to come back and being like, now that I know I can insure my commune, if that's what you're going to call it, why do I need to give you my money to look down on me? So there's a lot that, again, I can't know it all. Not one person can know it all. It's going to take all of us.
So with that said, yes.
I got one other question, back to solar now.
Your mic is out.
I had another question related to solar. I've heard about future solar projects where you can integrate that into art design. Are you familiar with that? And where are you in that journey of thinking about using that as an educational tool?
Yeah, you're saying how solar can be utilized in art design. And there's a really cool organization called Land Art Generator, and they have a solar filament that goes on the front of a solar panel. So you can create a mural that on the solar panel, and it will still generate energy. It does lower the efficiency by 10%, but hopefully at the next event, we will work with them to create a community mural. And the solar systems that we put down in the front won't only now generate energy, it will be the community mural that we're placing down to energize metaphorically and literally that community when we put it down.
Designs like the solar trees.
Yeah. And there are other unique designs like solar trees, which literally look like somewhat a tree and a flower. And then there's solar windows, and just there's a lot of cool, amazing solar tech that's coming out, about to hit the market. And I think it's how we utilize and look at solar as more than energy generation. And like you were saying, we aren't.
Any other questions?
All right, guys, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for coming. Back to the group, we're so happy that you all came and listened and also received the information. We want to receive yours as well, so please connect with us. If you don't have our information, please let me know. I will at least give you my information so I can connect you with all the people that were here today. And again, guys, God bless and thank you so much. Let's move forward together. Amen. All right.